Hello, Seattle.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Hello, Seattle.
Hello.
Hello. Tethered since 2009, this is the Marty Reamer Show podcast.
Reamer.
From the epicenter, Seattle, USA.
West Side.
From their west side basement, lodged between the mold and the bad memories.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
Here are your hosts, Marty Reamer and somebody else.
Oh my.
That sounded
unpleasant.
great, Marty. Thank you for that.
It's like we were reprogramming your brain in a fraction of a second there.
Yep.
I apologize for that. We have no idea what happened there, although I'm borrowing equipment from my new radio employer. And what have they given me crap?
I think they're sabotaging.
Please welcome our guest co-host for today. She's a regular here now. Every Wednesday she stops by the podcast, whether we want her to or not. And she's crazy. Kristen Ward is here. Oh, my
Yay!
God.
Thanks, Marty. Happy to be here again. Since you beg me to come every week.
I love having you here. You bring some class to the operation.
All right.
That's what you do. I was going to ask you today, what are you doing musically? Have you put your whole music career on hold for the podcast?
Pretty much. I have nothing going on besides the show with you, Marty.
It turns out not to be true.
No, that's not true at all. It's a complete lie.
You were lying there. In fact, you're participating in a benefit to end homelessness. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Did you come up with that?
No, I didn't. I thought I have an idea, though, that I'm going to get up there and say, hey, everybody, pay my rent. And maybe they'll give me some money, too.
I see. To
I didn't come up with it.
Away from being homeless.
Yeah, musicians need help, too.
Sure. 10 bands unite for one evening to end homelessness, and it's an amazing lineup. The Dusty 45s, who I enjoy a great deal. We should have them on the program. Massey Ferguson, we've had them on. Star Anna and the Laughing Dogs, friends of the show. Kristen Ward, Zoe Muth, is that how you pronounce her name?
I think so. Muth, I don't know.
She was one of the 7 sexiest women in Seattle rock and roll on a list where you ranked third?
First.
First.
Get it.
Wow,
get
you
it
moved
straight.
up. Last week she was at number 3. This week she dolled herself up for number 1. And it's funny because we had talked about Zoe when we went down the list of who else was on the and immediately Yaz booked her on the show. He said, sexy? We need sexy. So
we know where his mind is at.
So there are a total of 10 bands participating. It's a show at the Showbox at the Market. Tickets are $15, 18 day of the show, 15 in advance, 18 day of the show, and proceeds benefit an organization that wants to end homelessness. So that's all good.
Yes.
It's Thursday, February 24th. So check that out.
Check it out. I'll be there.
Kristen is a fantastic live performer. And Gary, you're a wonderful guitarist. I hope he'll be there.
He will be there in all of his glory. And it's a great cause. Billy Joe from the Dusty 45s actually puts this together every year. And it's a wonderful cause. So trying to get people out, spreading the word.
Billy Joel is kind of like he's a showman.
You mean Joe, not Joel.
Billy Joe.
Oh, yeah. I think
Did I say Joel? Billy Joe. Billy Joel is a showman, too. If we can just get him off the bottle, everything will be fine. But I thought I'd just take a tangent.
So evil.
I thought I'd just take a tangent and remind you that Billy Joel was good, too.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I forgot all about him.
No, Billy Joe of the Dusty 45s.
Billy Joe played on my last album, an incredible trumpet solo on one song.
Yeah.
Yep. He's really
I've seen him live a couple times, and he'll just knock your socks off.
It's not everyone that can light a trumpet on fire, spraying gaseous balls of flames into the audience.
So February 24th, you can see Kristen Ward live at the Showbox at the Market, and it's all for a good cause. Here's an email that I want to address. This one comes from Brian. Brian writes, Marty, I'm getting excited to hear that you are getting close to releasing Live from the Moldy Basement. Do you know how it will be distributed? Is this something I'll be able to buy at Easy Street or some other record store or online? If you can provide any thoughts on the podcast, feel free to reply. Signed, thanks, Brian, faithful listener. Live from the Moldy Basement, I showed you the artwork yesterday. We're getting so close. So close. If we could get Kristen Ward to commit to giving us a track for the CD.
I thought I did.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
But you are the only one. Like I'm so proud that all the songs on the CD were recorded in the basement or in the backyard for the Hootenanny.
Yes.
Every single track except for yours.
Do we need to reveal everything, Marty?
So anyhow,
sometimes there's magic behind music that people just don't need to know.
Yeah, but the track you sent us is beautiful, and it was recorded at Nancy Wilson's studio.
Her cabin in Cannon Beach.
Oh, well, all right.
We were working out some, anyway, long story, but yes, it was cool.
Was Nancy Wilson there?
No, she wasn't. She gave the cabin. Gary and I went down to do some songwriting, and we ended up recording that song. And
was she aware? Did she give you permission to go into the cabin, or were you
yeah.
just like, come on, Gary?
We broke in. No, she's a friend. She's awesome. So anyway, we went down there and did some stuff.
Okay, so Kristen's is the only song that was recorded at Nancy Wilson's cabin. The rest of them...
You know what? I'm revoking my song. You don't get it anymore.
Done? Okay, that's just going to delay release for another...
Until I agree to give it back.
I believe the way we're going to do it at the beginning, because we don't know what kind of demand there will be, even though it will feature a track recorded at Nancy Wilson's cabin from Kristen Ward, we don't know the demand for the CD, so at first we're going to release it online and make it available to the podcast purists.
Perfect.
So that's our goal, and I'm about 2 weeks away now. 2 weeks away from having official release. Coming up on the show in just a little bit, we talked to mountain climbing legend Ed Viesturs. He's back from his climbing of the tallest mountain in Antarctica. He's
a badass.
Man, they don't get any better.
To say the very least.
He went on that expedition right at the first of the year. We talked to him at the end of last year as he was preparing to depart, and we said, give us a call back when you're done. We want to hear all about it. He sent me an email shortly upon his return saying climbing up was a breeze. He said, I've never done anything so easy. Coming back down, apparently they got stuck in a wicked storm. He said, you couldn't... I can't put into words how bad it was, but we'll ask him to put it into words.
Yes.
So, and it turns out, Kristen, your father is a huge fan of mountain climbing.
Yeah, he's climbed several mountains, Rainier several times, or a couple times, I believe, and I was hoping to,
He's climbed to the top of Rainier a couple times. That's huge. Then he definitely... I can't believe your dad isn't dialed into the show today.
He's hiding from me, as
One
usual.
of his heroes, Ed Viesturs, is going to be on the program.
Maybe it was only once. No, he's done it a couple times. Well, you know what? I think he nearly escaped death at one point by not going up. I don't even know. I was a child.
Should we try to call your dad and get him, or is he not available anywhere?
I've called every single number, and he's not answering.
It'd be very nice to have.
Where is he?
What does your dad do?
I don't know. He sells drugs. No, he works at Evergreen Hospital, and he's some sort of
administrator.
He created some.
Is he a surgeon?
No, he's not a surgeon. He's not a doctor.
Okay.
But he works with the way that the drugs get distributed around there. He's created some, and he's never actually explained to me.
Yeah. Does he actually have an official office there, or does he just show up and distribute the drugs?
He does in the alley behind the hospital. If anybody needs any methadone or anything like that, just pull up to the alley where the incinerator is behind, and look for the guy in the dark coat.
It's sad how little kids know about what their parents do for a living. My dad worked for Boeing for many years, and if someone asked me specifically, because at Boeing, the only thing anyone ever understands is, he builds a wing. He makes a wing. That people would get, but if it's like some component that goes inside another component, besides that, he never worked on any commercial planes. He always worked on military machinery.
He refilled the concession machines. It's
better than he sold drugs.
Hey, my dad is a criminal. No, I'm just kidding. He's not. Dad, if you're out there, I'm kidding.
I want your dad to hear the Ed Viesturs. We're going to have Ed Viesturs via Skype here in just a moment. Is it time? That's close to time. I need some help here. I got my bill, my Verizon bill last month.
Hey, look who's coming in.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my gosh. I can't believe it.
Gary Westlake.
Yay.
Oh my gosh, but
I
he can't get through our security fence.
Yeah, security.
Gary Westlake, Kristen Ward's guitarist, has just arrived here in the studio.
Hey, pull up a chair, Gary. Join us.
Oh yeah, so I'm late for work.
This is
Gary,
so amazing.
there's the microphone. You have to actually talk into the microphone.
This is an incredible event happening.
What are you doing here, Gary?
I was getting coffee at Diva, and
he decided.
And Kristen texted me that you were obsessed with me.
I am. It's because I felt bad that Kristen has been guest co-hosting, and we've completely left you out of the fray.
Well, yeah, I can't blame you.
No,
very unpredictable personality.
I can blame me.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Do you have a day job, right?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I can't tell you.
You can't?
I have to kill you.
Seriously?
No, I work for Pearl Jam.
You work for Pearl Jam?
Uh-huh.
Like literally full-time gig for Pearl Jam?
Yeah, 18 years.
I'll be damned. Look at that. Kristen, step aside. We want Gary as co-host now. This is awesome. What do they have enough going on that they need full-time?
Yeah, they got so much going on.
Especially this year because it's their 20th anniversary, right?
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing? Are you like in the shipping department?
No, I'm their manager's assistant. Or one. There's two of us that are assistant.
So when they go on tour, you're on the road as well?
I used to go a lot more than I do now, but back in the day, I used to go out. But then they all got families and kids, and there's no more room for me.
Yeah.
So I keep you very busy.
And Kristen keeps me busy, yes.
Well, it's a shame. You're underutilized then because they should bring in your guitar talents.
No, I played on an album.
Which one?
The one with the avocado on the front. I played Octagon.
Guacamole Surprise.
Yeah, Guacamole Surprise, as it's known. I played Octagon on it.
The one with the avocado in the front, isn't that the most recent one?
No, there's one after that has like backspacer. That was the one they were.
Oh, okay, yeah. Wow, well, cool. And do they expect you? I mean, is it an operation where they expect you there on time?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, look like he's here. I mean,
yeah.
I know, but the first thing he said when he came in, he goes, "I got to get to work."
No, it's a joke.
He's he's spending his morning and doing more important things.
I just the other day I played some Pearl Jam on my day job because we play a little Pearl Jam from time to time.
Yeah.
And I had mentioned that Eddie Vedder and I live but a mile separated from one another, and he's lived in West Seattle nearly as long as I've lived in West Seattle, and I've never bumped into him.
Let's call both Eds this morning. Ed Viester.
Ed Viesters and Ed Vedder.
Ed Vedder's not in town.
I don't think you're even supposed to reveal that.
Oh, no, that's fine. He's touring in Australia.
Because as soon as Kristen knows that Ed's not in town, she's going to crawl into one of his windows and record a song in there.
This one was recorded. Assuming he's got a studio in his house.
Eddie's house.
No way. Yeah. He was making fun of me because the song we sent was from Cannon Beach.
Oh, right. Yeah, we broke into Nancy's.
Yeah, and I wanted if she had criminal. Nancy's permission.
No, we just break into famous people's houses.
All right, well, this is the famed guitarist Gary Westlake. Wonderful of you to stop by because I am obsessed with you.
I'm looking at all these things here.
We're neighbors, and I never see you either. Maybe I never leave the house.
We saw it Easy Street that one.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I usually go there on Sunday to eat with my wife.
That is one of my favorite places to eat. All right, well, we can't keep Ed Viesters waiting. Are you going to hang out, or do you have to get off to the?
I should really get off. Where's Ed?
Excuse me?
Yeah. Ed Viesters is via Skype.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, we're going to be Skyping with Ed. But I'm curious, so what is on your agenda today? Like, what are you doing today in the Pearl Jam office?
I don't know until I get in, really, but...
It's down at Georgetown, right? Down in Georgetown? Yeah. You don't know?
No, not for sure.
What'd you do yesterday?
What did I do yesterday?
Not really sure.
Like, I mean, when you're not touring, what does a manager's assistant do?
Whatever they want. I have to wait till I get in and see. Oh yeah, I got to do this and this and this.
Is it like are you on the phone a lot?
It's so. I think the only reason they really keep me is I've been around so long that when they go, I want a coffee. I know what they want in their coffee, like I did with Kristen.
Thanks, Gary.
That's a great job because it would never get boring.
No, it's never boring. Never.
Yeah. Can they call you in the middle of the night and expect you to jump?
That used to happen, but not really. It doesn't really happen.
Gary could be a therapist, actually. I mean, he should be.
Do you really have to coach people through some downtimes?
No. Once again,
tell
not
the
anymore.
Truth.
No,
tell the truth. Yeah,
when are they down? They're not down about anything.
I'm talking about me.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That seems like an endless task.
I forgot about that one.
Well, Gary, thank you for stopping by.
I would have brought you coffee if I'd known what you'd like. But.
Yeah, well, apparently we don't have that kind of track record going.
Oh, not yet.
Where that's right. It's a non-fat chai.
Non-fat chai?
Yeah.
Okay,
chai.
Remember that. Do you go to Diva?
I do. I pretty much just anywhere.
Oh, I
don't
Diva.
care. Yeah, I like Diva a lot too as well. All right, so let's. I feel like we don't want to keep Ed Viesters waiting. He's been nice enough to share a little time with us.
Oh, cool.
And so via Skype here, we're connecting with him. Had a little trouble this morning.
Uh-oh.
He apparently knows how to work the satellite phones better than he knows how to how to
He's
work
mad
the
at you.
Skype.
He can call you from K2.
There we go.
Hey,
Hey, Ed, hold on. We need video. Give us a camera.
hang on.
I know. Do the
Take care, Gary.
Okay, bye, Gary.
There we
Hey,
go.
there he is. There he is. Hi, Ed.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thank you very much for coming on. Say hi to Kristen.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi, Ed. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We're a little late, partly because Kristen is a musician and her guitarist just stopped by unannounced, but also because we wanted to see if we couldn't get her dad on the line because he's he's a mountain climber himself, and I would guess if he's at all a climber that he would be an Ed Viesters fan.
Oh, right on.
Yes. Very disappointed I can't get a hold
Has
of him.
climbed not Everest, Rainier a couple times, which means he had to go through. Isn't there only one company that runs tours up to the top of Rainier?
Well, there used to be. Now there's a few others. I mean,
he
the
just
Park
did it by
Service
himself.
opened it up a little more, so there's some options. And you know, he could have certainly gone with a guide service or on his own with some friends.
I see.
Yeah,
He went on his own. On his own.
Are you allowed to go on your own?
yeah. You can take 3 or 4 buddies and go climbing. I mean, assuming you've got the right experience, but you can go as an independent party.
Is that one of the things that they recently changed?
No, that's always been that way.
Oh, I did not know that. I thought you needed to be guided up there.
No, you can go on your own. If you have the experience and the right number of people and the qualifications, off you go.
Well, what do you now? When you say if you have that, who verifies that you do?
Well, you know, that's kind of loose. I mean, it's a national park, so if you want to go climb Mount Rainier without any experience, you have the right to do so. You know, you pay your fee and off you go.
What's the fee presently?
Well, I don't know. You have to get a climbing card, and you apply online. It's like $30.
Oh,
you
that's
know.
it. Okay, we're not talking about thousands to climb.
No.
I see.
It's minimal. Yeah.
And then you have to pay the $5 to park your car
Right.
at the bottom.
Exactly.
Anyhow, that wasn't why we wanted to talk to you. First off, good on you for making it back safely from Antarctica.
Thank you.
And for some reason, I have a hell of a time saying the name of that continent. I always sound like I'm new to the English language. Antarctica.
We usually skip the first T, so just go Antarctica.
Antarctica. All right, I'll give that a
that's
shot.
Yeah.
You know, with my broadcast background, you know I need to pronounce every vowel and every consonant.
You're meticulous.
So I mentioned briefly, and I hope you can dramatize it a little more than I did. I said that we talked to you before you left, so we
Yeah.
learned all about what you were planning on doing, and then we got an email upon your return, and you said, "Hey, going up was no problem at all."
Yeah, we had great conditions. It went like clockwork. The weather was good. I mean, it was a little cold and windy on the summit, but then coming out of there was some incidences and some glitches beyond our control, and they kind of one after the other. Once one was resolved, another thing happened, and it delayed our departure by about a week.
A week.
Yeah.
So fill me in on exactly what peak or what mountain did you just climb?
We climbed a peak called Vinson Massif. It's the highest peak in Antarctica, 16,000 feet. Logistically, it's quite difficult to get there. You go to the tip of South America on commercial aircraft, and then from there you hire an organization. They have the Soviet jet that they fly you from the tip to the ice, and they land on an ice runway, and it's a 4.5 hour flight. Very expensive because it's like a chartered aircraft. They got to fly their own fuel in and stuff, and then you get deposited there, and then the plane leaves, and so you're basically there until that plane can come and get you.
And that
Wow.
very same plane comes and gets you.
That very same plane, and there's only one, and it's stationed at the tip of South America. So when we were all done with our climb, hoping that this jet was going to come get us, they had some political problems in Punta Arenas. There was rioting in the streets. Nobody could get to the airport to get on the plane. It took them
my
4 or
gosh.
5 days to do that, and then once they turned the key to say pre-flight check, they discovered there was a fuel pump that was broken on the jet. Had to get a new one, took another 5 days. Once that was fixed, then the weather crapped out, and that was another 3 days.
Oh my goodness. So all of this happened for the return flight.
And we're just down there, done with the climb, waiting to get picked up.
And
Yeah.
you are in contact with them via satellite phone?
Oh, there's a whole base camp set up. They've got people down there. They know exactly what's going on. So it's a really nice base camp. There's dining halls. You can go climbing. You can go skiing. I mean, there's stuff to do. You're not just twiddling your thumbs. But once you're done with your climb, you're thinking, man, it's time I get to go home now. But there was all these delays in getting out of there.
Seriously, there's a dining. You can go skiing.
Well, they have cross country skis. You know, it's very flat there.
Yeah.
And they've got all these tracks marked out that vehicles go on, and you can go skiing and you can go climbing in the neighborhood. And they have these large weatherport tents, this base of operations that they've set up, and they feed you 3 meals a day. That's part of the thing you pay for. And it's from this base camp then that they fly you with a smaller ski plane to Vinson, and then you're on your own.
I see. So that is one more hop that you have to make.
Yes.
So this base camp is completely operated by the same organization that flies the plane in and out.
Yeah, it's called Adventure Networks.
I see.
So they fly you in there, and from that base, then people go to climb Vinson. They fly people to the South Pole. There's other scientists that are based there that go to other places in Antarctica. So it's kind of the landing area for this cargo jet that takes you to Antarctica, and from there, everybody kind of goes their own way.
And what kind of a jet is this? Like an old Soviet military plane?
No, this thing it's called an Aleutian. It's an amazing, beautiful, modern-looking jet, and it's just monster vehicle, and it has enough fuel within its wings that it can fly all the way to Antarctica and fly back without refueling. And there's cases where if they're flying you, 4.5 hours later, and if they can't see that landing strip, they'll simply turn around and fly back.
Oh man!
And you're like, oh,
And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't.
No.
There's no alternate landing site.
There's no alternate.
You can't land at Burbank instead of LAX.
No.
Yeah.
But they're Soviet pilots, and these guys they're pretty tough. And when they start flying, they don't want to turn around, so they'll do whatever they can. And so at the end of the runway, even if it's foggy in Antarctica, there'll be a guy standing there with a flare, and he's the marker for these guys to land. And they flew in right over this guy's head, and he's just like there with his flare.
Well, what are the accommodations like in the plane? Is it regular like airline seating?
No, it's very rustic. I mean, it's this giant cargo tube, and they bolted in some rather rustic seating. And then there's guys that sit in the front, and they make sandwiches, ham and cheese sandwiches, and then they pass them out with a little napkin, and that's your in-flight service.
And then you're being flown there, with vehicles around? Vehicles that they're transporting down there as well?
Well, it's all your climbing cargo and stuff is in the back, and they also fly fuel down there, drums of fuel, because they have all these other support vehicles in Antarctica that they need to supply with this fuel. So the back end of this jet is just loaded with equipment and fuel and your climbing gear.
Oh my God, you are one flying Molotov cocktail.
It's exactly. And as you start descending, they say, okay, time to suit up, because when you land and they open that door, you are stepping onto the ice, and it's 20 degrees below zero. So it's quite the shock.
What do you do to train yourself for something like that?
Well, it's really hard. You just got to be full on suited up, dressed, hats, mittens, gloves, boots, and they open that door, and boom, you're out. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
And then, since you were a guide on this trip, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
Are you immediately in charge? Are you immediately shouting out orders, saying, "Don't touch that! Don't do that! Go over there"?
They have a staff of people on that welcome you on the jet runway, and then they escort you away from the jet. They throw you into some huge track vehicles. They then drive you to the base camp. They take care of you for a while, and then once they take you then to Vinson, the mountain, then you're on your own.
Okay, and that's when you take over.
That's when we take over.
So really, the climb up the mountain and even back down was fairly uneventful?
Yeah, I mean, we had great weather. I think we did the climb in about 5 days. It was pretty cold and windy on the summit. We calculated about 45 degrees below zero on the summit.
And what does the summit look like? Is it just barren ice?
It's wind-blown rock and ice, and it's pretty scoured up there, but it's beautiful. And you get on the summit of this peak, and there's other mountains around, and then beyond that, there's just this sea of ice. I mean, Antarctica is a pretty amazing place if you ever get a chance to go.
I think it unlikely.
Well, yeah, it's a cool place.
Yeah. So in what ways was it a unique experience for you?
Well, I've always dreamed of going there, and I finally got to go there. You know, I'd read about it, I'd seen photos. It's like I said, it's hard to get to logistically, and when they drop you off, I mean, you feel rather isolated. You can't just get into the car and go home. You got to wait for somebody. And then it's just so pristine, and the things they have initiated there to keep it clean are amazing. All the food, all the garbage, all the human waste, everything comes off the ice. Nothing is left behind. Absolutely nothing. You can't even pour a cup of coffee into the snow because that stain will be there forever. So as soon as somebody drops a coffee cup, you're like chopping at the snow, throwing it into a bag. You know, it's like a hazmat area.
Yeah.
And even a piece of food, you know, like a cookie crumb. There's no birds down there where we were. So that stuff, that garbage will be there forever. So it's very important that we leave nothing behind.
So there's no life, no sign of anything.
Nothing. I mean, there's life on the coast. But as you go inland, I mean, there's nothing there. There's no plants. There's no animals. You know, and it's an amazing place.
And how many of you guys went? I mean,
there was 9 of us total on our team.
Mm-hmm.
But when you land at base camp there, it's a little civilization there.
Yeah, it's a beehive of activity. You know, they got planes coming and going, flying to the pole, flying people to Vinson. They got a whole staff there. They got people cooking food for the people like us that are based there for a while. You know, they've got toilet facilities. They'll play movies during the afternoon on a little video screen, you know, to entertain the people that are waiting there, either coming or going.
Yeah, do you meet some interesting folks who are all on interesting expeditions?
Yeah, international. I mean, people are, you know, skiing to the South Pole. Some people are being flown to the pole just so they can say they stood at the pole. There's scientists there. There's climbers there. There's people from all over the world.
You can ski from there to the pole?
If you want to, yeah.
How much work is that?
Well, it's 500-600 miles, and so you've got to, you know, drag a sled, which then contains your stuff, and then you ski, you know, 20 miles a day, and you do that every day for the next month or so.
And again, you're on your own at that point.
You're on your own. I mean, you have satellite phone communication, and with what they have there now with the planes and the logistics, if you get in trouble, they can come pick you up.
And you know how I feel about that, Ed. Those guys that get in trouble, and then this big expensive rescue operation has to come haul their sorry butts out of the sling.
It's different than it used to be. You know, you can get rescued, so it takes away a little bit of that, I don't know, intrigue as I'm totally alone. So, but for the most part, they're very strict about who's there, and you have to again be qualified and all that type of thing.
Yeah, were you jealous of anyone else's expedition adventure compared to what you were doing?
Well, there was one guy. You know, I've always dreamed about skiing to the pole from the coast to the pole, which could take 45, 50 days. There was a Norwegian guy, 25 years old. He did it in 24 days, all by himself.
Wow.
The guy was moving.
What kind of distance is that?
Oh, I don't know exactly. That's 700 or 800 miles or something like that.
Cross-country skiing?
Yeah, cross-country skiing.
Okay.
Pulling a sled that weighed about 120 pounds, and then he just motored for 24 days, and he set the record.
And is there any kind of elevation that you're dealing with at that point?
Yes. I mean, you're going to about 14 or 15,000 feet. So you're skiing at 14,000 feet. So you need to be acclimatized.
Wow.
But you're not having to gain elevation while you're skiing. You're not having to ski uphill.
You do initially. When you start from the coast, you have to climb through a mountain range, and then you get onto what's called the Antarctic ice cap.
That's insane.
And there's crevasses and the whole deal. I mean, it's an adventure.
Yeah. Aside from, I mean, it seems more like the return was more of an inconvenience rather than that anything harrowing happened.
Oh, that was no big deal. It was just, you know, frustrating because stuff was happening that we had no control over.
Right.
We were well taken care of. We were safe. We were comfortable. Big deal.
Yeah.
And in the end, I mean, because we climbed so fast, and even with the delay, I got home exactly when I had planned to come home anyway. So no big deal.
It was basically like the airport was socked in
Kind of, basically.
Is that what it was? I mean, aside from the technical issues with the plane not being able to leave, but then you said the weather turned. So then...
Well, then they had to wait for the clearing so that these guys could actually see the runway and land. And of course, during all the previous problems, we had perfect landing weather. And just when they get the plane fixed, then the weather got, out of control. But they snuck it in a couple of days later. And this plane landed right in the fog. It was amazing.
Wow.
Jeez.
It must be weird to be at base camp. Like how close to base camp is the runway?
Well, they have to cart you out to the runway in vehicles, and then you stand there and wait for the plane to arrive, and you're just standing outside, and it's 10 below zero. That's the departure lounge.
Yeah. So the plane doesn't stick around long. It lands, it touches down, unloads and loads, and then back off again.
Yeah, that whole turnaround's about 3 hours. I mean, they got to unload what's on it, and then they got to reload what they want to take off. And that whole process takes about 3 hours.
How long does it take to put together a plan for something like this type of expedition? I mean, when do you start making your plans?
Well, because there's a limited amount of seats on that jet, typically you've got to book seats a year in advance. And so you have to, and then you have to actually put your money down as well and make a deposit.
All right, so when did someone approach you, or when did you come up with the idea to climb Vincent?
Well, we had it, my partner and I, Peter Whitaker from Rainier Mountaineering, we've had this idea for years. Let's do a guided trip to Antarctica. And so it was about a year ago, we finally said, let's pull the trigger, let's do this, let's advertise it, let's reserve seats on the plane, and then we kind of made that commitment. And then through that, we got clients. We had 3 clients that signed up with us. We had a photographer and a videographer come along from Eddie Bauer. So we did a bunch of stuff on this climb. Not only were we guiding, we were getting photos and video for Eddie Bauer and First Ascent. And so we're kind of working as well.
How do you advertise an expedition like this?
You just put it on the web. We advertise it through Rainier Mountaineering. They've got a website. I mean, you can put something on Facebook. Hey, Ed Viesters wants clients to go to Vincent. I mean, there's people out there that have the qualifications and have the money and have the time, but it's a rather small select group
Marty,
of people.
You should go.
I know, I should go. Gosh. And so you always have something on the horizon that you're working towards, I'm guessing.
Yeah, because you have to have a certain amount of lead time. You can't decide, hey, in a week we're going to go to Antarctica. It takes time to set it up, to get the logistics in place, to get the permitting if necessary. For instance, in May, I'm going to go climb Mount McKinley. Awesome. And I've had plans for that now for the last 8 or 9 months. I mean, you have preparation, people have to get ready, you've got to get the gear in place and that type of thing.
I have so many questions. I'm sorry. Do you ever have you had any moments? I want to know all the gritty details. Do you have you ever just thought, I'm dead, I'm dying, I'm gonna die up here, this is maybe not on this trip, but have you had a moment like that? I mean, I'm sure people do in your situation, people that do what you do.
I had one incident, and I talk about it in my book about my climb of K2. And when we were climbing to the summit, this was way back in 1992, Marty, you were what, 6 or 7?
Are you kidding me? I was 45.
Anyway, we were climbing up in pretty marginal weather, and I kept telling myself that by the time we get to the summit and come down, the snow conditions are going to be horrendously dangerous. And every step of the way going up on that day, I kept telling myself I should turn around, but I didn't. The problem was I didn't make the decision to turn around, although I knew I was making a mistake. And on the way down from the summit, I mean, there was so much new snow, I felt for sure that we were going to die in an avalanche. And that was the one and only time I felt like, you know what, Ed, you made the last mistake of your life. You've got nothing to lose. Just keep going down the hill. Wow. But there was a number of times when I thought we just wouldn't make it. But obviously, we made it down. Here I am. And it was on that day that I didn't listen to my instincts. And I've always told people and reminded myself that if your instincts are telling you something is not right, you turn around and you walk away from whatever you're doing. You got to listen to that. So that's the only time that I had such a close call.
Is it the snow conditions that are typically most threatening, or the temperature?
Well, it's typically weather related, high winds, zero visibility, or snowing like crazy. And it depends. If there's a lot of new snow, if the snow is deposited in a certain area, then it's the avalanche conditions that can turn you around, because in the end, you then become the trigger for that avalanche, and you could take the ride with the avalanche. So avalanches in the mountains are for me the biggest and scariest thing.
Yeah, and the techniques that they give you when you're out back skiing, where they say, you know, swim in the avalanche, does that any of that help? Do you have any chance at all?
Well, in the Himalaya, I mean, if you're 8,000 feet up on a face and there's a monster avalanches, you know, it's pretty hard to swim through that.
Yeah.
I mean, you do what you can, but you'll end up probably in the bottom, just buried. I mean, the avalanches there in the Himalaya are just monstrous.
Your water wings will not save you.
Oh, that just spooks me just thinking about it. So yeah, I mean, but isn't that what you're supposed to do? Isn't that you're supposed to swim? You're supposed to wave your arms because you want to create a little air pocket for yourself, right?
Well, you know, if you're skiing or out in the backcountry, yeah, those are the techniques. You want to keep yourself at the surface. You want to swim and keep yourself as close to the top of that avalanche as possible. And now they've got products out there. They've got backpacks that are called Avalungs that allow you to breathe even while you're buried in the snow. They've got these inflatable packs that you pull the ripcord and the pack inflates around your head, and it helps to float you near the surface. So there's a lot of products out there for backcountry skiers and stuff that help you to survive these avalanches.
Yeah.
But the key is not to get caught in the first place. So to learn about the weather, to learn how to evaluate snow conditions, knowing when and not to go, I mean, those are better than getting caught in the avalanche in the first place.
All your adventures surround climbing mountains, but with your physical abilities, has anybody approached you with something else to, like, I don't know, you'd be like an awesome astronaut, I would think.
You know, if they had moon landings again, I would sign up.
Really? Would you?
I would. That's one of the things. I mean, I read about all the, you know, the things that went into the Apollo project, and when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the moon, I was like, man, I would do that in a heartbeat.
I would think the two are very similar in a way.
They are. I mean, it's adventure. You have to rely on your partners. I mean, obviously, for a moon landing, there's a lot of technology involved,
right,
where you're just kind of the passenger. It's a little bit different in climbing. But still, just that adventure and the thought of you've got to train and focus and be ready for whatever to go do something like that. I mean, and the planning that goes into that, it would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I'm so inspired right now. This is amazing.
I always think I should be inspired, but like I have no interest in going to the moon. Like I think because whenever you talk about like the plane lands and then takes off and then you're on your own, that to me feels claustrophobic, and I feel so isolated that I would get a little tweaked.
But you know what's cool about that? Rarely do people in everyday life have that feeling of, number one, isolation, and the fact that they are and need to be self-reliant on their skills and their decisions. I mean, we have so many safety nets here in our society that if you get in trouble, you call 911. If you make a mistake, somebody will help you. But when you go out there, either to Antarctica or you're climbing a mountain and you're at 29,000 feet, your decisions and your accidents have consequences. So you really have to think about everything you're doing, because you can't just say, come get me.
Yeah.
You know, and that for me is a very interesting feeling, and it's something a lot of people have never felt.
Yeah, well, that's so true. And if you ever should travel to the moon, I bet you'll do it without oxygen and then call Buzz Aldrin a sissy.
No, I don't think you could do that. You couldn't hold your breath long.
Anyhow, it's always so fascinating to talk to you. Last time you were in your son's room. Where are we catching you today?
No, I'm in the same spot. This is a little alcove area we have in the hallway. It's my son's and daughter's computer. They do their work here.
Really? Because last time there was a map of Bainbridge Island behind you, and now there's a sign that says...
my wife is redecorated.
Oh, she has. Oh, as soon as it says keep calm, carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, then... as soon as you head off to Antarctica, she redoes the house, huh?
Yeah. She goes crazy.
Get this stupid map of Bainbridge down. Who put this up here anyhow? Anyhow, it's always awesome talking to you. Thanks for sharing your experiences so that we don't have to do them ourselves.
Oh, you're welcome.
No, I want to do them.
Or Kristen wants to do them.
I think this is so cool.
Yeah. Although the thing that holds more people up, I would imagine, is not the physical conditioning, but the finances, right? It's a pretty expensive undertaking.
It depends on where you're going and what you want to do. I mean, if you want to go climb Mount Rainier, it's not that expensive, and anybody that's physically fit can do that. And I still do a couple of trips on Rainier every summer, so let's go.
Awesome.
What's the biggest hazard there?
Well, I mean, we can't guarantee zero risk. I mean, whenever you're in the mountains, something could potentially happen. But on Rainier, it's crevasses, which we can more or less skirt around. There's still some that are hidden. There can be an avalanche. There's an ice fall that we climb under for 30 or 40 seconds. You can't predict when that might cut loose, but for the most part, we do things as safely as possible, but there's a certain amount of things that we cannot control. So you've got to just trust us and know that more than likely something won't happen.
Yeah. And how long of an expedition is that to go to Rainier typically?
Well, we do it in about a 3-day window, a 1-day basic climbing school so that you learn the basics of climbing Rainier with a guide, crampons, ice axe, rope travel, breathing, walking techniques. And then it's a 2-day climb, round trip to the summit and back.
And one final question. When you go to REI's flagship store in Seattle, and you open the door, they have those ice axes as door handles.
Yeah.
Do you ever pinch your fingers when you open the door between the ice axes? Because I always do that, and I always think, it's painful as hell because those doors weigh a ton.
Marty, any question you could ask this guy, like, what is the purpose of your life? Spiritual journey, the top of the world. This man has seen the top of the world, and this is the questions you have.
If Ed Viesters were to do that as well, because I always take it as a sign that I shouldn't climb. Like when my finger
There's
gets
several
jammed.
signs that you shouldn't climb.
When my finger gets jammed in there, I'm like going, all right, this is God saying, why don't you stay down here at sea level, son?
That's probably a good indicator.
Yeah. So it's never happened to you, because if it happened to you, Ed, then I would feel a certain synergy with you.
I'm sorry it hasn't happened.
All right. Next time, watch. Next time you walk into that store, you'll go, God damn, that Reamer had something going on. I should have gone with his instincts and stayed out of Aria. Exactly. All right, Ed, a real treat talking to you. Thanks so much. Stay safe there.
So nice meeting you. Yeah.
See you later.
All right. Take care. Always wonderful having Ed on. And I've always wanted to ask him that question about the door at REI.
That is so cool talking to him. Wow.
Oh, I thought my question.
No, your question was horrible. I had like 20 other better questions than that, but no, that was
the nice
really
thing
cool.
is this show is recorded and it's kept in perpetuity so that your father, if he should ever get around coming out of the alley behind the hospital, he could watch it, because it really is. It's amazing talking to that guy. And could he be any more hospitable? Could he be any more forthcoming with? I would always think guys like him are. Your question, it's a good question. I've never asked him, had he ever felt like he was right on the edge of fading away. Yeah. And, but I always hesitate asking questions like that because I think, oh, they must be so sick and tired of,
God, there's like, I have like 100 questions for
that
guy.
Did I cut you off with my REI question?
As usual, yes, you did. No, really, I know that so much of, at least life as a performer, what other people do is so much, you look for so much outward, validation. I can only imagine just the inner validation you would receive from doing the kind of adventures that someone like that. I'm just fascinated.
Well, you should do it.
I'm terrified of that kind of thing, but I think if Ed Viesters agrees to take me on a expedition, then I will go. So, absolutely, I would go.
He took me on a hike up to Tiger Mountain, and I never felt safer.
Oh, really? Probably because that's nothing.
Yeah. Oh, really, Kristen? I'd like to see you try it. Anyhow, yeah, no, it was kind of a fun little outing that we did with a bunch of listeners. We went up Tiger Mountain, and I had my daughter on my back, and she was screaming the whole time, going, I want to get down, I want to get down. And Yeah, it was. I mean, it's not even.
It's a good cardio workout going up that mountain.
Yeah, but for him, literally, he was up front with people. Then he came back and checked with people at the end. Then he ran back up to the front, then back down again. He did that about 18 times and never even broke the slightest sweat. So that guy really is in amazing physical shape. So always fun to have him on. As always, Kristen.
Well, thanks for having me.
I'm glad you were here for this one.
This is great.
I didn't know if you would be.
Usually the show sucks, and this was cool today. So, thank you.
I'm telling you, people, you watch out for those door handles at REI because they put the ice axes too close together. So I'm just saying.
They do hurt, if you grab them with your teeth like you usually do.
Tomorrow, comedian Kyle Cease. He's a Seattle comic who's gone on to nationwide acclaim, and he's also become somewhat of a motivational speaker. He and comedian Louis Anderson have this program where they motivate you through comedy. Kyle Cease, he's performing this weekend in Tacoma. He'll be my guest tomorrow on the podcast. And then on Friday, the guy who's opened the first distillery since Prohibition in Seattle will be our guest. And Mike Seeley from The Weekly.
Wholly independent since 2009, this has been the Marty Reamer Show podcast. For more information about topics discussed, visit our website, martyreamer.com. That's Marty, RIEMER.com. Thank you for subscribing to the podcast. Tell your friends. They look nice. Oh, and to subscribe to our podcast. That too. The Marty Reamer Show is a production of Twisted Scholar Incorporated. Remember, in America, a corporation is a person too. I'm your superhero announcer, Blair Schultz. See you next time. Word out.
Bye-bye, Daddy. Bye-bye, Yaz.